are now locked in and listening to The Issue.
This guy is a franchise quarterback, and no, I don't want to hear any pushback on that.
It feels like a top 10 roster to me. It feels like it can win a championship.
This is The Issue.
Yo, what's up? We are back. It is The Issue. It is Thursday, March 2nd, and we have another episode here for you guys. Thanks for stopping in. You can watch us on YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Prime Video, listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music.
I feel distinguished.
Yeah.
That's good. I feel Amazon Prime Video. Okay,
Amazon Prime Video, Amazon Music. You can find the show on those platforms. So wherever you are joining us from, welcome. Good to have you. We have a good show to get to today. So we're starting with Tim's rant like we normally do. Carson Wentz and the Washington Commanders.
Cut again.
It's gonna be interesting. So now more movement within the starting quarterback job, and it is going to be kind of a show almost focused towards that. So we're going to start with that rant, then we'll have hits and misses to round out the first segment. And then in the second segment, we are going to play Guess That Starter with NFL quarterbacks. So go through like 10 teams that their starter might be in question, maybe moving off a guy, maybe not paying a certain guy. We are going to give you our prediction for who is going to start at QB1.
Yep, they're week one QB1 for those teams. Yeah.
And then we will have the news to finish off the second segment. And in the third segment, we're going to go over some combine sleepers. We kind of got some pushback for the Will Levis thing, but we had a lot of people agree with us too, especially on TikTok. So we'll talk about that a little bit more to start off the third segment. And then we will be finishing the show with a discussion on the MLB pitch clock. We kind of got into it in the news, I'd say 2 episodes ago.
No, I think was that last episode or 2 episodes ago?
It might have been 2, might have been whatever. Last time. Either way, we're going to bring you a whole discussion segment on it today. We both have some pretty strong opinions there. But a lot's happened in the NFL, so we're starting to get that movement of the offseason, starting to get free agency just kicking into full gear. And that leaves Washington without a quarterback now.
Yeah, I mean, Carson Wentz, again, cut for the second time in 2 years? Third time in 3 years, actually.
Doesn't look
so
good
that's
for
great. I guess he was traded to Indy, so cut for the second time, traded once. Anyway, I've been a massive supporter of Carson Wentz. I think statistically he's better than a lot of people realize. I know he has his downfalls, but I mean, people like love Matt Stafford, for example, right? Oh, Matt Stafford, he's going to come back healthy. He's a top 5 quarterback. So take out like both their rookie years because they both sucked. I mean, we do that a lot when we talk about quarterbacks, especially quarterbacks that have been in the league for a while. If I only have 3 years sample size, I'm going to use your rookie year. But I got like 7 for Wentz, and I got, 14 for Stafford. So take out the rookie year. They're almost the same quarterback. I mean, Stafford's a little bit more accurate. Touchdowns per game are the same. Stafford throws, a tenth of an interception per game more, right? Just a hair more reckless with the ball. I mean, pass ratings, Stafford's is a little bit better. It's about 2-3 ticks higher, which it's almost the same quarterback, though, right? But the difference, Stafford had a season with, the best coach, the best defensive lineman, the best DB, the best wide receiver, a great O-line. Now, he had to put up a lot of shit to get there, right? He had to go through Detroit for, 12 years? So, I mean, don't worry, Stafford paid his dues. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying we view Stafford up here, and then Wentz he's cut and probably not going to start next year. So I love Wentz, but I have to concede something about him. And I'm not sure exactly what it is. So let's backtrack here for a second. It'll all make sense. You remember playing Little League, right? Everybody does. There's always one kid, not really that big, not that fast, doesn't run the fastest, run the farthest, jump the highest, doesn't move significantly better than everybody, but they just seem to be in the right spot at the right time. Right? They seem to come up big when it's needed most. Against all odds, gets the job done, right? But you see this in every sport. It's not just true of Little League. It's true of every sport, even professionally. I'll give you an example from almost every sport. Let's start with basketball, right? A lot of people speak basketball language. Everybody can play basketball. It's easy to understand. Luka Doncic, right? The man barely dunks the ball. His handles are good, not special. He kind of looks like a regular guy if you're looking at just body type. He's not jumping over people, dunking over people. His shot's good, but it's not even that quick. It's not like Steph Curry, like, ooh, that shot looks different. No, it just looks like every other shot at the Y. But he's always getting his own shot. He's always open when he needs to be. He's always, getting the job done, leading the league in scoring. How about Luka Doncic? Or, I'm sorry, Jose Altuve. Short. He's like, what, 5'4"? The size of like a middle school girl.
With cleats on.
Now, granted, I mean, he's physical specimen in terms of his prep, his mobility, his core strength, right? He's not an actual size of a high school girl, but I mean, it's close. He's small, extremely limited physically. Now he hits the ball like 450 feet. But he's an all-pro, he'll probably be in the Hall of Fame. How about Tom Brady? No, I know Tom's big and he's got a nice arm. I mean, no, Tom was, always will be a freaking statue back there. Cannot move. Can't move. I mean, good arm, not special. Big, not insane, But they all succeeded at high levels. It's that it factor that nobody really knows what it is or how to quantify it. Right? I mean, shit, Joe Burrow, he's got what, like the fourth best arm in the AFC alone? Not even the league, the AFC. Herbert, Lawrence, Allen, Mahomes. I mean, he's probably got like the fifth best arm in the AFC alone. He's probably, what, the sixth, seventh most mobile in the AFC? He's got a bad O-line, a coach that we like, but we're not really 100% sold on him. Doesn't matter, he's a beast. Because he's got that it factor, he's got that swagger, he's got that, I can walk in a fur coat and it doesn't matter. Even though, probably I'm not rocking the fur coat, to be honest with you. But he can. I mean, it's not, don't want to make it about that, but how many 6'3" white dudes with the middle part can walk in with glasses, Bon Jovi glasses, and a fur coat?
Not many.
Let me help you out. Like, almost none.
Joe Burrow.
Like, almost none.
Joe Burrow. That's
Joe Burrow, right? So, for Carson Wentz, that's the one thing I have to concede. It's all lined up for Wentz. High round pick. He has had an offensive coach, aggressive GM in Philly, good weapons and support, some pressure because he was a high pick, but not a ton because he was a small school guy. They were going to give him the benefit of the doubt. MVP candidate early, paid early. Everything was lined up for Carson Wentz. Then it all came crumbling down. But then, gets a pretty good situation in Indy. Actually, a really good situation. I know the O-line wasn't ideal, but it was rated middle of the pack. It was 14th or 15th 2 years ago. Great run game, clever quarterback coach, quarterback whisperer, some may say. Could hide in Indianapolis. Not a lot of pressure there. It's a relatively small city. All you need to do is win either of the games against either the Raiders or the Jags. Let's set the scene for the Raiders game. The Raiders had 2 felons dismissed from the team, one that actually killed another person, a racist head coach who, to be honest, was kind of weird even outside of it. Like, just a weird situation, emailing weird things back and forth. Like, it kind of reminds me of, like, when a 7th grader gets the school laptop for the first time in middle school and decides to look up porn as if that was going to be a good idea on the middle school laptop, that the school owns and,
on the
tracks.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, right. Like John Gruden, hey, with your company email, let's make awful remarks in your email. Like, probably not a good idea. Right? O-line was a tire fire, no existent defense. Nope, he lost that game at home. Got thoroughly outplayed by Derek Carr, who I like, isn't even a top 10 guy. Probably 12. How about let's travel to sunny Jacksonville? There's a rookie quarterback, interim head coach, no weapons, no defense. I mean, the kicker got damn near assaulted by the former head coach. Remember that story? Yeah, that's the team they were playing. That's the team right there. Total mess. Sell the team type stuff. Nope, couldn't win that one either. Look, I've defended Carson Wentz. But at some point it comes down to, can you win football games? Point blank, no. I mean, to quote Ron Rivera, when asked why he chose Taylor Heineke over Carson Wentz, he said, quote, winning primarily. I mean, I can sit here and tell you Wentz is 6'5", mobile, big arm, makes a lot of great throws, relatively underrated. Right? He's 27 touchdowns, 7 picks is like his career average roughly. That's pretty damn good. That's like Matt Ryan level, who will get Hall of Fame votes, been to Super Bowl, won an MVP. Right? So two things can be true at once. He could be kind of underrated. But you also have to understand, for some reason, he doesn't win. He doesn't win enough. He's not part of a winning culture enough. Right? It reminds me a lot of like Russell Westbrook, who, I don't even like basketball, but everybody knows Russ is going to run really fast down the court, jump really high, and dunk the basketball. But I mean, you go look at his efficiency numbers, especially in the half court, they're awful. He's not a good half court player. He doesn't facilitate winning basketball. It's the same thing with Carson Wentz. He's not a winning quarterback. Super talented, can stack up with the best of them in terms of stats. Not a winning quarterback. And it hurts me to say I've been a Carson Wentz fan. It hurts me to say.
Well, these are billionaire owners and billionaire teams. They're not going to settle for not winning. It doesn't matter how talented you are, the measurables that you have or don't have.
I agree.
If you're not going to win football games, it's just not going to be good for you. It doesn't matter. I mean, you brought up the Brady thing. There were people, when Tom Brady was literally getting ready to graduate college and go to the NFL draft. He went to a camp and he was being outthrown by NFL or high school prospects that just got invited to the camp because they, they're going to college. They want to throw it around. They want to get some exposure in front of NFL scouts. Tom Brady got outthrown by high schoolers in his senior year of college at Michigan.
Yep. But then he was a young guy, and they were like, "Hey, by the way, our starter's hurt. Go ahead." And then he went to the Super Bowl.
And he, keyword, won the Super Bowl. Got wins. Became one of the most winning quarterbacks of all time. That's what matters in this league.
I couldn't agree more. It's different like in baseball. It's like, oh, we lost. We play in like 10 hours. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it's a Friday night game, but we play Saturday at 2. So if we lost, that sucks. Rinse and repeat. You win Saturday, you don't even remember Friday. Right? NFL, it's like, no, we lose and we get embarrassed Sunday. The rest of the week sucks to be in that building.
100%. You're dealing with that the entire week.
The entire week. All right, well, the Bears have been dealing with absolutely no success for, 105 years now. So let's start there with hits and misses.
Yeah, the Bears have been just an abysmal organization.
It's not good. We'll start there with hit number 1 here. So we gave the Bears advice, not that they're really listening, but doesn't matter.
They should. They should listen.
They should listen, probably. That they should trade the first overall pick, trade down 1 or 2 times, go get 4 other draft picks in the first 3 to 4 rounds, go rebuild the roster with 11 draft picks, this year, and report out now that they're leaning towards trading the number 1 overall pick, maybe even trading twice to get down to like closer to 10 to acquire even more draft capital. I think that would be a very smart decision.
Just get
talent. Have 5 or 6 needs, not 1 need. So I would go get a bunch of draft capital, get young, get cheap, get talented. And so if you only have 7 picks and you draft 5 offensive players, the Bears have historically sucked at drafting offense. So what's going to hit? 2 of them out of 5?
Hopefully.
2 out of 4, 2 out of 5, right? So now try having 11 picks, you draft 8 offensive guys. Now, what if 3 or 4 hit? You know what I mean? You increase your chance of getting more production from those players. So I think it'd be a smart move to trade down.
Yeah, they're not ready for a number 1 pick, right? Like I feel like your organization, your team has to be ready. It has to be in place for you to have that number 1 to go get that one big piece, maybe 2, depending on where you draft in the second round after that, and how much draft capital you have. But they are in no position to just go out and get like the number 1 guy. You have to just acquire talent at every single position group you can and hope that more of them pan out than they don't.
I would agree. Yeah, you're not wrong. They're not a first overall pick away from being competitive.
No,
they're about 9 picks away. So.
They're about 9 drafts away.
Yeah. All right, miss number 1 here. I said, you know what? Maybe the Guinos do need to make a big change. Maybe they do need to fire Sullivan. I mean, the bottom 6 is elementary.
I was on that board too.
I don't think Malkin is all that. Well, they've won like 3 or 4 since I said that. They've scored 5 goals in 4.5 minutes against Tampa, who's like a real team.
Yeah.
Malkin's played really well. The bottom 6 is looking a lot better. So I don't even know what to make of this team anymore. It kind of reminds me of, they're not as good as the Chiefs, but where it's like they're going to struggle, but in 7 games, what team is beating them 4 times?
Not
many. Interesting.
Yeah.
I think the Rangers now, we'll talk about the news here in a little bit, but they made a big trade. Maybe the Rangers now, but like, it's a good team, and in a 7-game series, like where, you're playing for all of it, they're still a scary team.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Pittsburgh has kind of always played that brand of hockey too. So like in 2016 when they won it, they started off horrible. They had a coaching change.
Yeah.
Remember they fired their coach halfway through.
Johnson, something like
that. I think it was Johnson,
something like that.
Yeah, Dan
and his ass.
Yeah, it was just they got rid of him halfway through the season. They looked horrific. They brought on Mike Sullivan, who at the time was a AAA coach and with not really any experience.
He shuffled up some lines. The
HBK line. They played really smart down the stretch, snuck into the playoffs, battled through the playoffs, and won it. Now it's just going to be the question: can they make the playoffs this year? Because I mean, last time I looked, they are right in they're still considered in the hunt. They dropped out of the wild card spot by like a point. They might have gotten back over the last week.
I'll let you know right now. NHL playoff picture.
They should be right in the hunt, I think.
Let's see.
I think they're behind Buffalo.
If the season ended today... No, we'd be in. So we'd be
wild card?
We would be wild card number 2. Our first round match would be at the Bruins.
Oh, that is just a tough draw.
We'd get waxed.
It wouldn't be good either way.
We don't match up well against the
Penguins
Bruins
are starting
ever.
to play a little bit better.
Yeah. All right, hit number 2 here. We discussed a little bit about the pitch clock. We'll talk more about it later. But my early take was I don't love it. I don't like the idea of it maybe deciding games. I know it's early, but it's already deciding games.
I saw that one.
That's not the intention of it.
The batter's violation that led to a ball 4 and the bases were already loaded.
No, it was a batter's violation, so he struck out.
Oh, that's right.
And so then, but it was a tie game,
Yeah,
bases
yeah.
loaded. Yeah.
Bottom of the 9th.
So I that's not the intention of the rule. So I don't love that. We're going to talk more about it later, but we were right that it's not really working perfect right now, and we're gonna see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it.
I think you have to be looking at the pitcher with like 8 seconds. That gives you like 7 seconds. If you swing,
Dude,
and then you have to
my
reset.
question is like, how are you gonna get signs?
That's interesting. Yeah,
You gotta step out and get
So
signs.
for example, say you swing, you foul a pitch off, right? So you're off balance now. You got to regather yourself.
Clock starts.
Fix your gloves. Now you have to get signs. You have to get in the box, orient yourself, and be looking at the pitcher. All that has to happen in 7 seconds.
They're not going to be able to.
7 seconds.
You don't have time to fix your gloves anymore. You're not going to see as much of it. I bet you.
Well, we're going to talk about it later, but I have my concerns.
Dude, you'd have to be swing, step out, sign, step back in, and look at the
It'd have to
pitcher
be
within
quick.
7 seconds.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane. You can't do that.
Yeah, miss number 2 here. I said Green Bay would probably have moved on by now. That's what I thought, at least. I said rip the Band-Aid off. I mean, you've been held hostage for years, and then they're still letting it happen. Move on. Start Jordan Love. If you whiff, you'll suck. You could draft somebody next year. I don't get what's the fear. I know that it's a small town. They've been good and they've been relevant for 25 years. You have some equity built up in that franchise. Take a leap of faith. Start Jordan Love. He sucks. You win 4 games. Boom. Trade up, draft Drake May.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you suck, it's not that bad. It's a good quarterback draft next year. It's worth a shot.
You're not killing yourself.
You have to know what you have.
Yeah.
In Jordan Love, I don't care about the dead draft. I don't care about the dead cap hit. Whatever. It's fine. You're not paying Love anything anyway, so it's a wash.
And plus, the dead cap hit, it might even be worth it for not having to put up with Aaron anymore, right?
I mean,
Like that's just such a thorn out of the side.
Jared Goff was a Pro Bowler. He had a pass rating in the mid-90s. You're telling me Jordan Love can't have a pass rating in the low 90s and win them 8-9 games?
Should be able to.
Sneak into the playoffs?
Should be able to.
Aaron won them, what, 8-9 games?
Well, he's only sat back behind one of the best quarterbacks for how many years now? So, like, if you're not picking anything up.
3.
Yeah.
All right, hit number 3 here. I was a huge fan of Jack Leader and Kumar Rocker coming out of Vanderbilt. We asked Troy Lanieve about probably a year ago plus now.
Yeah.
Who he'd rather face between Kumar and Jack, and both having been his teammates. He said it'd be tough to pick, but Jack is something else in terms of like deception, movement, spotting up, right? More consistency. Kumar has the best overall pitch with his slider, but Jack's overall a little bit more consistent, a little bit better. Well, yeah, both of them are lighting it up at Rangers spring training.
Yeah.
Especially Jack. I mean, they've been really, really impressive. From what all the scouts have been saying. Again, Kumar's slider is looking better than ever. Jack is still spotting up at an all-time level. So, I mean, good for them. Troy called it. We called it. Good for them.
Yeah, Kumar's slider is wipeout.
It's
and
nasty.
And this just
nasty.
adds to the laundry list of players. Vanderbilt knows how to do baseball over there. Their organization is just pumping out pro guys all of the time.
All day, every day.
Yeah.
All right, miss number 3 here. I always thought that overall, like we as a, kind of a society, that we'd have some common sense. But we've seen that over the past couple years, that is just not the case anymore.
Dwindling, huh?
That is not the case anymore. Another young athlete, 31 years old, former pitcher in the Mets organization, has died from a heart attack. Yet another athlete, prime of life, dead of another heart condition following an experimental drug. It's interesting. That's all I'm saying. It's odd, isn't it? It's an absolute travesty, but nobody wants to talk about it.
No, and it's happening at a pace that we've never seen.
Exponentially increased over the last 2 years.
It's unnormal.
It's ridiculous. People want to get outraged if, Marcellus Wiley probably drew some flack. We talked about it last week, talking about, well, I think it's pretty unfair that a dude is going to swim amongst women and call himself a winner.
Right. We talked about it in the news last week.
That's kind of some shit, right?
Yeah.
And Marcellus Wiley probably got a lot of flack for that. How are we not giving flack about this? How is nobody outraged about this? We're outraged about the dumbest things on a daily basis as a society. Nobody cares that anywhere between 25 and 45, you could just collapse even though you're wildly healthy. Because they just injected you with the most random shit they could find on the street.
The top 1%ers.
It's ridiculous.
The top 1%ers in the world. This doesn't just happen.
It's ridiculous. It bugs me to an all-time extent. We were lied to, and nobody wants to admit it. Nobody wants to admit it.
And
so
if you do,
I was wrong that society has common sense, because clearly nobody does.
And if you try to push back, you just get silenced. You get taken down. It doesn't matter.
You think this stays up on YouTube?
We can only hope. Guys, if you're listening, we're still here. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is hits and misses. We will be back in the second segment. We are going to play Guess the Starter. We're going to go through 10 NFL teams and predict who will be starting at QB1 in Week 1 of the 2023-2024 NFL season. We will be right back.
Second segment. What is it, March already?
March 2nd, yeah.
March Madness, can't wait. Don't call, don't text. I will be eating, drinking, and laying down. So just don't call and don't text for at least that opening weekend. Probably even the round of 32 as well. I will be busy, and I don't care about you, to be quite frank. So that's what I'll be doing. I would assume most of you would be doing the same thing. If you're tuned into a sports podcast and you don't watch March Madness, I can't help you. Must really love the NFL then, which is good because we love the NFL. So we're going to do Name the Starter for the NFL teams. We're going to go through 10 teams. Who's their Week 1 starter?
Yeah.
We'll follow that up with some news.
I got to say, though, just speaking of March Madness, if it's an excuse to sit on the couch, eat more buffalo chicken dip than you can imagine,
Yeah.
and drink just numerous Miller Lights, I'm in.
It's a white huggy type of day, I'll tell you that right now.
It is.
Kids, go get your dad a pack of white huggies.
Yeah.
For March Madness.
Father's Day is coming up. That's in like June, right?
June.
That's in a couple months.
Get him an early present. Get him some March Madness white huggies.
Get your dad the gift that he really wants this year. Sponsored by the issue.
Peace and
Throw it up. Miller Lite.
Peace and quiet and Miller Lite.
Peace, quiet, Miller Lite, and basketball. All right, let's go. Before this gets any worse than it already is, we're going to do Guess the Starter. Here we go.
So these are going to be like some surprises. I mean, there's been big moves every offseason, especially on draft day. So let's go with the first one, with being Atlanta. I think Atlanta's going to have to settle for Baker Mayfield. I think Levis is going to be gone by the time. I think all the three big quarterbacks are going to be gone by the time Atlanta drafts. And I don't think they're in a spot right now where they want to rebuild with a big project like an Anthony Richardson that could fall to them.
Yeah.
I think they're looking for more somebody who can come in right now and stabilize, win 6-7 games as opposed to being really bad. And I think the person for that's Baker Mayfield. I really do. And I don't love Baker, but I mean, you get Kyle Pitts. Drake London had a really, really nice year. Their offensive line's not terrible. Baker can move a little bit. I mean, not quite as well as he thinks he can. He shouldn't be squaring up safeties, but he can move. I think he can stabilize, win 6-7 games, and then they can go from there. Maybe they go back and forth with him and Ritter. Either way, Baker's not at a point where you have to pay him a lot of money, and you don't have to start him. You could go get him, give Ritter a shot, and if he doesn't work, put Baker in, or start with Baker. If that doesn't work, go with Ritter. Doesn't matter.
And it's not like you're asking him to win a Super Bowl.
You got flexibility there. Yeah, and you're not asking him to win a Super Bowl.
You're not asking him to win a Super Bowl. You're not asking him to do anything crazy. Just be decent. Make sure we get some picks next year.
Yeah, I think
you're not going to win every single game, but hey, kid, play your heart out. He didn't look bad in Los Angeles. He went there and won a couple of games.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I feel like it's a decent spot for him.
I would agree. Let's go with the Washington Commanders. Again, they're in that kind of no man's land. They're drafting, I think, like 17th, 18th, 19th, something like that. That's not a good spot to go ahead and take your quarterback of the future, so they're going to go ahead and probably roll the dice with Jimmy G. Also, you have to look who's their coach, Ron Rivera. He's really, really more of a conservative defensive coach. He's not going to take big swings, so he's going to go with a proven guy who's not going to raise the temperature in the room. He's a good leader. He's going to come in, be able to win you some games. If you wanted to go with Sam Howell, Jimmy G is fine being the backup, mentoring a young guy. You don't have to pay him a lot of money. It makes a lot of sense for Jimmy to go to Washington.
And I don't think, Jimmy is not a bad quarterback by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
It's just about how you scheme the offense.
Yeah.
If you're asking Jimmy to do things that he obviously can't do and struggles to do, sometimes you'll see that when he's asked to take too many big shots.
Or move the pocket too much.
Right. He can't do those things. But if you tailor an offense towards a Jimmy G, he can actually be very successful.
Yeah, for sure. And they're not devoid of talent there. They have a decent run game, some good wideouts. So, all right, let's go with Vegas. I think Vegas goes ahead and drafts Will Levis at number 7.
Vegas.
I think it's going to be hard to convince offensive coach Josh McDaniels looking at the talent that is Will Levis. And let's be real. He drafted Tebow thinking he could fix Tebow. He's going to look at, Levis escapes the pocket too quick. Oh, that's fine. I can fix him. 6'5", big arm, smart kid. I can work. He can work with that. and hopefully form him into a quarterback for the future. I mean, here's the thing. People are talking about, well, maybe they go get Jimmy G or maybe they settle for like a Ryan Tannehill. Why would you move off Derek Carr if you're going to go get Ryan Tannehill?
Yeah.
Right? You got to make a splash. You got to get somebody that's more talented. I like Derek Carr right now, but Will Levis is a more talented player overall than Derek Carr.
100% he is, yeah.
Bigger, stronger, can move a little bit better arm, has a much higher ceiling, so it makes sense to go with a Will Levis. If he's going to fall to you at 7, it makes a lot of sense. Vegas gets Will Levis.
And I think this is a spot where he could have the opportunity to excel. We were talking about it last week. He needs a lot of things to go his way and some cards to be in his favor in whichever organization he goes to, especially for the first couple years and like learning. I think Vegas might be a spot that could be built up in the next draft or two.
Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, offensive coach, Darren Waller.
They got pieces.
Decent O-line.
They've got pieces. Will Levis can throw a ball, and last time I checked, Devontae Adams can still catch a ball.
100%.
So, not too bad there.
So where does that land Derek Carr? Let's go with the Panthers then. I think the Panthers go out and get Derek Carr. I think this is one of the first dominoes to fall, to be honest with you. It just makes a lot of sense. What does Derek want? Probably like a pass rush, a decent defense. So he hasn't had a top 20 defense his entire career. The Panthers are somewhere in between 12 and 16 in the league defensively. They get a pass rush. They've been able to run the football even without Christian McCaffrey. And then you have a really, really good quarterback coach in Frank Reich. Andrew Luck, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, they've all had their most efficient seasons under him. So go to the best quarterback coach on the market. They have good enough weapons, and instantly, is he not the best quarterback in the division? Tomorrow walks in.
100% he is.
So, I mean, you can be the best quarterback in the division, decent pieces around you. Carolina's a nice place to live. That makes a lot of sense for Derek Carr.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I liked it when you said it last week. There was only one other spot that I liked, and it was the Jets, but I could 100% see Carolina being the next spot.
We'll get to that later. We're saving the couple of trades towards the end. So let's go with Indianapolis. I think Indy drafts C.J. Stroud.
Okay.
I think Stroud is one of those. He reminds me a lot of Justin Herbert in terms of was good, but nothing like, oh, I'm going to draft him first overall until that final game of his career, right? They go and they play Georgia, and you're like, oh, he can run for 85 yards and throw for 210, and he's tough, big arm, can move, right? So you saw the throwing ability the whole time he was there, but then that final game where he was able to cut it loose a little bit, I think that's really, really appealing to Indy. They have an impulsive owner, so they have to take a big swing. I think C.J. Stroud's got a lot of upside, can move around a lot. I think he sells jerseys, sells tickets. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, especially the level and the size and the magnitude of that game, right? In the biggest moment, he was able to step up and do that. Yeah. I think that says a lot.
Yeah, and I went to Ohio State. It's right next door. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's in the same general footprint. It makes a lot of sense for me. All right, let's go with the Niners. I think Trey Lance. First of all, I don't think Brock Purdy's going to be ready. People are trying to tell me that a UCL isn't a big deal. No. Like, I don't think he's going to be able to throw week 1. I don't. I'm sorry. So I think Trey Lance starts. Now, who's their week 16, 17, 18 starter? Your guess is as good as mine. But I think week 1, I think Trey Lance, they're going to give him another shot. He's big, can move, big arms. So, I mean, you got to give him another shot at least. You traded up for him, draft him at 3.
Yeah.
You got to at least give him another shot. So I think they do. He'll be the week 1 starter.
I agree with that. It's you feel bad for Trey in this situation because you lost your whole entire first season, and now you got to try to make it all up. And if you look bad out of the gates, they're not gonna hesitate to move to Brock Purdy if they have to.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, this is where it starts to get a little bit crazy. Follow me here. A trade. Minnesota's sitting at 24.
Yeah.
And the New York Football Jets are sitting at 13. The Jets had negative output from their quarterback, as in they'd have been better without a quarterback on, like, not making throws, just handing the ball off, right? So, and they won, 7, 8 games? Imagine if they got just league average. Go to the dictionary. What does league average look like in the NFL right now? Kirk Cousins. The Jets are going to go ahead, trade back to 24. Minnesota would then take 13. So the Jets, the package would be the Jets are going to go ahead and get that 24th pick, Kirk Cousins, and a second-round pick. Instead, Minnesota will trade up to 13. They'll draft their quarterback of the future, Anthony Richardson, the big physical freak of nature from Florida. It makes a lot of sense. What does everybody from Minnesota just bitch and complain about? Kirk is super average, shrinks in big moments. So you have to make a swing. Right, there's not a lot of you can bang on Kirk Cousins. There's not a lot of upgrading from Kirk Cousins. There's not a lot of 4,200 yards, 31 touchdowns a season on the market. That's not on the market. I'm sorry, it's just not.
Yeah.
That's not something you find every day. But what could be that and more in a year or two? Anthony Richardson. So I think they make a splash. They trade back. Or I'm sorry, Minnesota trades up. New York trades back. New York gets their average quarterback good enough. They can go win 10 games tomorrow with Kirk Cousins.
It's interesting.
Minnesota with a lot of good weapons. Let Anthony Richardson run wild. You have an offensive coach who was a quarterback in the league, backup quarterback, Kevin O'Connell, for 10 years, right? He knows the game. He can mentor Richardson. I don't think it's a bad move. I think it's out there. I'll admit that, but I don't think it's a bad move at all.
Seems almost a little bit mutually beneficial.
It does seem mutually beneficial. Here's another one that does too, and here people are not going to like this. So Houston sits at 2.
Oh, this one. Okay. We're just diving right into it.
Houston sits at 2. Baltimore doesn't know what to do with Lamar. Baltimore doesn't know what to do with Lamar. So it's a system that's built for a slight quarterback that can move. Now, granted, Lamar moves more than Bryce Young does. Bryce Young is much better from the pocket. But both are still mobile. Both are really, really slight quarterbacks, so you have to protect them. Baltimore isn't ready to pay the big money to somebody who's not reliable physically, at least in the last couple of years. Who's not reliable physically but can still fit into that system? We're not sure about his frame. Bryce Young. But Bryce Young is also wildly cheap. Then you don't have to pay him. You can restart the 4-year clock on a rookie quarterback to try to build a championship contender around the young rookie. So Bryce Young makes sense to me.
So Bryce Young to Baltimore.
Bryce Young to Baltimore.
But now this...
Lamar to Houston. So here's how it would work. You're going to have to give up. You're going to give Baltimore your first this year and your first next year.
Okay.
So
that would be then Houston has to see Lamar as a guy that's worth a second overall pick, though.
Second overall pick and another first.
Yeah.
But you're getting a known commodity and you're trading away unknown commodities. So then what Baltimore would do at the number 2 pick is take Bryce Young.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it solves the problems for both franchises right now.
Because Baltimore can't afford to pay that money.
Who's watching? Who's tuning in to watch Houston Texan football games next year?
Anybody outside the city of Houston? No.
Almost nobody. If Lamar's there, I at least watch a couple that makes him interesting enough to watch.
100%.
I'd watch that tire fire with Lamar.
Well, that also makes them. Well, I'm not saying that makes them like the season where they made that little bit of a run with Deshaun.
It makes them good,
but it makes them relevant.
It makes them a scrappy 7-win team.
Sell some jerseys,
at least.
Get a little hype in the city.
Baltimore gets the restart with a young quarterback.
They don't have to pay way over their head, and then they can still sign people. And
secretly, I know the injuries is a problem. Behind closed doors, what's the real problem from paying Lamar? His development passing.
Yeah.
Let's be real here.
I mean, he wins a lot.
He wins a lot, and I know the injuries are a concern. Let's be real. The whole being able to throw the football consistently thing is something that bugs him. I know it.
Yeah.
Bryce can throw it more consistently. That's all I'm saying. Let's go. I think I'm crazy. Let's go ahead and transition into some news.
All right, yeah, let's go.
All right, story number 1 here. Chicago Blackhawks have traded longtime star and kind of face of the franchise, Patrick Kane, to the Big Apple and the New York Hockey Rangers.
Oh, man.
Does it make him contenders? Probably. I mean, he's still a top, 10 scorer in the league. They're already a pretty good hockey team. I'm not sure they're as good as a Tampa or as good as, say, a Washington. Do I trust them in a 7-game series? Have I seen the Rangers in a 7-game series? I don't know. It's interesting.
I think
they are significantly better today. I'll tell you that.
I think what this does really well is it just bolsters their special teams and their power play unit.
Oh, their power play is going to be insane.
It's going to be Patrick Kane, Adam Fox. That combination together is going to be one to watch for sure.
So, and here's the thing: the reason that's a problem is now you force their team to have to. In their head, they know that they have to play perfect now.
Yeah.
If they make a mistake and they go on the PK, they're screwed, right? And the pressure of having to play a perfect game is more than just if we make if we have a penalty, they'll be on the power play. No, it's like a mental thing. Now you have to think about that while you're playing. And it's a real factor. I mean,
you can't take the roughing calls. You can't take the tripping. You can't take that little miscellaneous stuff that seems like it doesn't matter because New York's going to light the lamp on you every single time you do now.
That's interesting for a team like a Boston, right? You look ahead, maybe they would meet in the semis or even the conference finals. Boston likes to muddy it up, make it a little bit more physical, right?
Boston
so now
is a very physical team.
Now the border of what's okay and what's not okay starts to get blurred because you don't want to cross that border and put Patrick Kane on the power play with that unit.
It's gonna shake things up in New York.
It makes teams change the way they have to play. All right, story number 2 here. Cannot wait. Saturday, March 4th.
Oh, let's go.
John Bones Jones returns to the octagon to face Frenchman Cyril Gahn.
I can't wait.
Light heavyweight bout. Or no, I'm sorry. Heavyweight bout.
Heavyweight.
Or no. It's light heavyweight?
It may be.
Let's Google it. We got time.
All I can say is I am freaking pumped. I'm pumped. I can't wait. This is going to be one of the best UFC fights of the year.
John Jones, Cyril Gahn. Let's see. What are they fighting at? Okay. Great. Doesn't tell you. Love that.
Awesome.
Love that. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Super helpful.
Might as well just go weight class, huh? You guys are seeing the inside look. This is the prep that we didn't do before this one. Okay, so it is light heavyweight. That's 205.
Okay.
Which is interesting. John's never fought at 205 before. He was a 185 fighter, which he was a specimen at 185 because he was always a lot bigger, and then he had the reach at 185. Yeah. I like John. I'm going to be honest with you.
I like him too. And one of the best pieces of news about this entire UFC fight is it is in the United States. It is a North American fight, which means it will be called by none other than Joe Rogan.
John Anik, Joe Rogan, DC, Daniel Cormier.
The best crew for the best fight.
So on the money line, we got John Jones -160. This is according to DraftKings, by the way. We got John Jones at -165, Cyril Gahn at +140. So here's what I like. John Jones to win by KO, TKO, or DQ is +350. That's probably what I'm going to lay the wood on.
Yeah, I like that.
Or honestly, by submission is +750 for John Jones to win by submission. See,
Dude,
I like
easy money.
I like John Jones. I don't want to say easily. He hasn't fought in 3 years. Cyril Gahn's a legit light heavyweight.
Dude, I don't care. John Bones Jones is one of the best grapplers, and he's nuts.
He's probably the most skilled fighter to ever fight.
I'd say the most balanced too.
The most he can stand and strike with the best. You could put him with Izzy tomorrow, and that'd be a 5-round fight.
Yeah,
and he might win.
Also, might I add, is there a better shirt to wear for the fight other than the Pray for the Parlay shirt?
I mean, I'll cook up my parlay right here. So I'm going to go John Jones by KO, TKO, or DQ. I'm going to go under 4.5 rounds, which is +110.
Oh, yeah.
And let's give me Jones in the 3rd round, which is +1900. There you go, people.
We're going to be praying for the parlay there, yeah?
Praying for the parlay. That's going to be a tough one. I don't know. I like John Jones. I'll tell you that right now. So John Jones versus Cyril Gahn, Saturday, March 4th. Story number 3 here. Deion Sanders getting a lot of flack for a quote regarding recruiting. So he said, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but he basically said, I like my quarterbacks to come from 2-parent households, smart kid, 3.5 GPA and above, 2-parent households, real stable, between the ears is better than sometimes the physical, right?
Same things with the offensive lineman, he said.
Yeah, and then he said for like an edge rusher, D lineman, though, he wants somebody from, I think it was something like a single mother home that's like trying to get his family out of poverty, yeah, with that fight and that drive to get his family out of poverty.
Yeah.
Now I know a lot of people are like, first of all, I want to throw it out there. If Deion Sanders was, say, I don't know, white, that would be, dude, the world would be on fire.
Yeah, it would be great.
World would be on fire. But I don't have a problem with what Deion said.
No.
Just because everybody else is too much of a pussy to say it doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Like,
at least for the quarterback thing. Now, look, that doesn't mean that you can't have a good quarterback from a rough home. That doesn't mean you can't have a good D lineman from a great home. But I don't think he's inherently wrong, especially about the whole quarterback thing. Smart, good parents, good upbringing, because you need a leader.
100%. I think that's more the mold, more of the times than not. The edge rusher thing, I kind of get it. You play with a little extra chip on your shoulder. You play with a little bit of a little extra drive. And I think his direct quote was, I want them from single parent households. I want somebody that's going to go out there and do it for mama. So
I don't think it's crazy.
Look, I get it. I 100% get it. And to be honest, the situation he'd shaken up in Colorado anyway, right? It's not like they were going out there winning.
Well, 1-11, 0-12. I mean, they were awful.
So hey,
I mean, like,
try it before you knock it.
Just because Kirby Smart doesn't come out and say it doesn't mean that they're not thinking it and trying to practice it. So let's all get off of our high horse here and stop thinking that it's a perfect world and that everybody's recruited and, based on these perfect moral grounds and, it doesn't matter from where and what you're, this, that, and the other thing. No. Everything matters, so everyone can get off their moral high horse, quit bitching, and just realize that that's the reality of it.
Agree.
Story number 4 here. There's no other way to say it. Basically, a dude dressed like a woman won the 1,500 meter dash at some, I don't know, stupid Canadian track game. Could not possibly care less about the track match meet, whatever. But I do care about, can we stop the charade? When are we able to stop the charade of that's not a dude? Right? Like, it's a, we're not going to show you the picture because we'll get in trouble and all that. Go Google the picture. Go Google the picture of dude dressed like a woman wins 1,500 meter dash. And it'll pop right up. It just happened like a week ago, not even by the time you're listening to this. Go look it up for yourself. Tell me it's not a dude. It's a dude. So my point is, like, can we quit it with the whole, like, oh, but he took took the hormone blockers and all that at what, 35? After they're fully developed? Okay, so it was a little...
If you look at the picture...
him, lose a little bit of bone density for the last 5 years. Doesn't matter. Like, it fires me up. It fires me up.
You can't look at that picture and think it's right.
No, you can't. And it's a disservice to women. Where are all the women that have been trying to stand up for women? Where do they all go? Like, stand up for women. You want to stand up for women? Here's your time to do it.
Yeah, how about you make things fair?
I'm standing up for women. All right? It's not right that... Look, I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm good enough at baseball where I could probably play, like, D3, right? But if I went and played, like, softball or, like, women's lacrosse, I'd be running people over. Yeah. I'd be a D1 menace.
Yeah.
Like, point blank.
Yeah.
So I take a couple drugs here and there, and I throw on some makeup. Like, I can just be a menace, score 15 goals a game. Like, come on, bro. Come on.
This situation, it's just a byproduct of bad things that have been happening. I saw a video the other day. It was in swimming, actually. The last story we talked about.
That Leah Thomas.
Yeah, and she was talking about, like, the locker room situation. You hear about that?
That's not right.
That is creepy. I'm sorry. Somebody's got to say it. That's creepy.
That's weird. That's weird.
It's not great.
That's weird.
Oh my god! If this episode's still up on YouTube by next week, this is gonna.
Well, we better move on so we don't get in trouble too much.
Yeah.
Guys, coming out of the into the third segment, we will talk a little bit about the combine, Will Levis, just prospects in general, and then we'll do a little, like, debate, kind of talking about the new MLB pitch clock, get more in depth on that. So don't go anywhere.
Let's go. We are back. Third segment of the issue here today. It is Thursday, March 2nd, in case you skipped to this part of the episode and missed it the first 2 times we said it.
Facts.
Welcome to March. This
March
segment
Madness.
we have, March Madness coming
WBC.
up. It's going to be a good month for sports.
Great month.
Great
month.
This segment, though, we're going to go combine sleepers in the NFL. Who to look at and who, I guess, could kind of rise in the draft, maybe fall in the draft. Just some projections, simple projections, looking out and
Right.
looking at the landscape of what we could have in the NFL in terms of the draft this year. And then we will finish up this segment with the MLB pitch clock discussion. So we both have pretty strong opinions on it. I know I do for sure.
I definitely do. And I have an idea for them as well, for the MLB.
Yeah, so do I.
We'll see.
I have a couple suggestions, but we'll get to that later. Let's start with the MLB, the Combine.
The Combine.
So I've been seeing, the NFL's been posting just all over Instagram, all
100%.
over Twitter, of past combines, broad jumps, all the skills. George Kittle doing the, catching the hands with the nosebleed.
Yeah.
So a lot of that, and now looking forward, who are some of the guys that you think could kind of make a difference this year?
Yeah. So, all right, let's go offense to start. We'll start with the most important position. Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He's a quarterback for UCLA.
Yeah.
Right. Quick, good arm. You could probably get him in the later rounds, right? So you're looking at teams that probably don't need a quarterback right now. But interesting. Like, would you take would Green Bay with a 5th round pick? What if Aaron leaves? Jordan Love sucks.
You
know
need
what I mean?
somebody.
So there's like a lot of teams like what if, for example, Detroit? They like Jared Goff now, but do we really think Jared Goff's there in 5 years?
Probably
not. But can you take DTR in the 3rd round?
Absolutely.
Let him sit?
Yeah.
Super athletic, really, really quick. He was a Bishop Gorman grad, goes to UCLA. Look, he was the most consistent quarterback at the Senior Bowl. Now, I know that's not a lot. That's not a lot. It's the Senior Bowl, okay? Like, not many great quarterbacks were there. But it's something, right? They do these stats where with about ball spin, ball velocity, and he set records in ball spin and ball velocity. He's not even known really as a pure passer. He's more of a dual threat, mobile type guy. And he played for Chip Kelly. We know Chip Kelly had success in the NFL. He's running close to an NFL system, so you're not gonna have to worry about implementation. He'll be just fine. Smart kid. UCLA is a good school. I mean, that's a pro system. It's interesting, at least later rounds, like anywhere 3 through 5.
Yeah.
3 through 5 feels about right. We'll see. We're picked there. We'll stay on offense. Let's go running back. Rashawn Johnson, I think I'm pronouncing that right. So he's the backup running back for Texas, right? So they have that Bijan Robinson, who's going to go in the 1st round probably. They're saying he's the best prospects in Saquon, right? Do you remember when Leonard Fournette came out of LSU? There was a guy who was also coming out of LSU named Jeremy Hill. Gets drafted to the Bengals for 2 years. He was the shit. He was really good.
Yeah, he was running through people.
He was really good. Well, he kind of fell off the map, but for 2-3 years, he was a really good back. He had some off-the-field stuff, some injury issues. Wasn't about his play, really, why he fell off. Kind of also reminds me of Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine. Both shared carries, so nobody thought, the other one, they kind of overshadowed each other, right? Rashawn Johnson, lateral quickness is there, can hit the hole, acceleration's there. It kind of reminds me of one of those guys playing second fiddle to a Bijan Robinson. You can sneak under the radar, maybe get him in the 2nd, 3rd round, and he'll be a pop back instantly.
It's very interesting.
I don't think it's bad.
I think there's some teams out there that could use that too.
100%. What? Pittsburgh. I mean, they got Jalen Warren and Najee.
I think having somebody else that you could probably supplement. I think
who
you pick
couldn't
him up,
use a receiving back? Who couldn't use a quick back?
especially in today's NFL.
Where you're going to go running back by committee. So you go get cheap labor in the 3rd, 4th round from Rashawn Johnson. You slate him as a 3rd down back, good pass catching back.
Instead of an Anthony McFarland, you could add him into your rotation there.
I don't think it's crazy. I'll stay on the offense. Tyler Scott, wide receiver, Cincinnati. So he's only 5'11", 185, but he's going to run like a sub 4.3. Now I will say he's the most high risk, high reward of these prospects that I'm talking about, because think about all the guys that you're like, oh, he runs really fast. They're there's not a list of really good combine stars that run really fast that are Dree Archer ran really fast. Remember the Steelers had Dree Archer? Yeah, he sucked.
He was not great.
John Ross from Washington that went to Cincinnati in the 1st round. Not very good. Could run fast, didn't have the nuance of route running, didn't have the hands, didn't have the physical ability to go up and high point the football. So guys like that, Tyquan Thornton last year, now granted he went to New England, which is an awful system for a young wide receiver to go into, but still. So he's high risk, high reward, but the speed's there. He's 185, right? So he's got some size. He's not too small. 5'11", so he's going to run by people from Cincinnati. Here's why I think about all the good receivers that have come from those small schools. Steelers get Deontay Johnson from a small school like that. It's interesting. The MAC and those. Well, I mean, Cincinnati's not the MAC anymore, but the MAC, the AAC, all those little schools, they churn out some NFL guys.
Yeah, and usually they're those more
really good 2s. They churn out really good 2s, really good 3s.
Yeah. It's always interesting. I don't know. Are you a big fan of the combine? Do you believe in it pretty much?
I think it's a little bit overhyped.
I think so too, because at the end of the day, I think it's a great measuring tool. I think it's a good way to look at the measurables. It's a good way to see speed. It's a good way to see, how explosive are you out of a broad jump.
100%.
Things like that, just little route running things. But I think the game of football itself is it's
more important.
Like you were mentioning, you have guys that run these insane 40 times, but you put them on the field,
they can't be press coverage.
They can't run a route to save their life. They get a little bit of they get pressed at the line, and next thing you know, they're completely
they're off their spot, they're off their timing, they can't do it.
And the quarterbacks are overthrowing, underthrowing.
I think it's interesting.
I'm not that big of a fan of the combine.
So here's where I think it's less important for people that are a little more physically gifted. right? Like a Will Levis.
Yeah.
But what if Bryce Young goes out? People are thinking, oh, he's going to run like a 4.6 probably. What if he goes out and runs like a 4.54?
Right, then that raises
Or I'm sorry, a
eyebrows.
4.45.
That raises
Now you're
eyebrows.
oh.
Hold on.
CJ Stroud, what if he's probably projected like 4.75? What if he comes out and runs a 4.65?
I mean, I definitely think the combine
And then you're like, oh.
like
Levis, it's not going to matter.
I think it's important for the pure fact that, like, you have to do it. It's a good way to get, like, just a read on every
I think the
single
interview
player.
process is more important. The interviews that they do all
Yeah.
week there,
Yeah.
I think is more important than the actual combine itself.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I mean, you get more experience with what the actual life in the NFL is going to be like, I guess.
I agree. So we kind of got some blowback, but we also kind of got some support about the Will Levis take. I'm sorry. I said I don't think he's Josh Rosen, but it's a name that keeps coming into my mind every time I think of him. But he's big, he's strong, he's got a good arm, he can move.
You did make a really good point about that. And when you look at the stats compared to each other, it's something to look at. I mean,
I don't think it's crazy.
you have...
He's a big, strong athlete, smart kid. Two things can be true at once.
And he's been able to do it in an SEC school, in a Kentucky, where they're playing a Georgia, where they're playing in LSU, these teams every single year. And my projection on Will Levis, like I said last week, it's always been super honest. You good over there?
No, I might die. Oh, a little tickle in the throat. No, I mean, you have been honest about Levis. You're like, I think he's got the highest upside in the draft,
Yeah.
but he probably has the lowest floor of the top 3 to 5 quarterbacks.
100%. He could have a huge downside. And I think people are entirely too high on him right now. I've seen some analysts that are... We talked about it a lot last week, where he's being compared to Josh Allen just because of his size. Newsflash: everybody that's that big is not that great of a
Josh
quarterback.
Allen. No,
You can't, just because you have the size, because you have a little bit of speed, does not mean that you are anywhere close to like the top 2 quarterbacks in the NFL.
No, I mean, Paxton Lynch was a physical freak of nature. He's
Yeah.
been the only person that's been benched in the NFL, the CFL, the USFL, the XFL, the AFL. I mean, the man sucks. He's as Stephen A. Smith says, the man's a bona fide scrub. He cannot play the game of football.
You love that line.
I love that line. So,
That is a staple.
sizes and everything, but it is interesting. Two things can be true at once. I can have concerns about Will Levis, but at the end of the day, if I'm sitting anywhere from 10 to 20 and he falls to me and he's big arm, mobile, I mean, it's interesting.
He's going to be good. I think he's going to be pretty good.
It's going to be really good.
Let's go. So there's been a lot of talk about the MLB. We're getting everything started back up with baseball. Some new things being added, right? The bases are a little bit bigger now, and the pitch clock. We have some opinions on that. So let's get into that.
So the pitch clock, look, I do like that it shortens the games. I like that I can't go to the fridge and make an entire sandwich in between pitches. It is cool that I have to sit down and I got to wait for a commercial break, point blank, right? Kind of like the NFL.
Yeah.
Right, the NFL is the same way. I sit down and I give my undivided attention, and I do like that. Now, granted, baseball's during the week, so I don't necessarily have the time like I do on a Sunday to just set aside an entire Sunday. So that's a little bit different, but I do like that it's a little bit higher pace. You have to take your eyes off the screen less, which is what baseball wants. So that's good. Here's my concern. There's two main concerns. One for actual play, like the actual play itself, and that's in the playoffs. I don't think it's applicable in the playoffs. I want there to be that cat and mouse in the playoffs. I want guys to have to think for 74 seconds about the next pitch. Like, I want you to be able to pick off 4 times in a row in the playoffs, because at some point, you can't mess with the outcome of playoff games, right? Like, I'm sorry, if somebody gets walked or gets struck out on an automatic ball or strike in the World Series, I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous. That's not what the rule's for. Kind of like, and people are like, well, you can't change the rules just for playoffs or just for regular season. You 100% can. Every sport does it. You think, oh yeah, I forgot. Shootouts in hockey are totally natural. But they change it for playoffs, so it's just more overtime in playoffs because that's natural hockey. You should let natural hockey decide playoff games, right?
Yeah.
Same idea for baseball. Look at the NFL. They changed the overtime rule, not for playoffs, right? Or I'm sorry, the overtime rule in the regular season is let's get it over with as quick as possible. We can't have guys playing an extra quarter and a half and then turning around and playing again next week, right? But in the playoffs, doesn't matter. We got to decide a winner the most fair and square way possible.
100%.
I think it's the same way for the MLB. You have to not have the pitch clock, or at least increase the time on it for the playoffs. my second concern, and people that have even been in the weight room for more than a month, right? What happens when you go hit a heavy triple? Well, I don't know. You're not touching that bar for another 3.5, 4 minutes. You're going to go do maybe a little accessory work, maybe a little stability work, mostly rest, probably check your phone.
Yeah.
Right, because that's what you do. You rest in between a really taxing set. Do you think that there might be a reason that guys that throw 98 miles an hour with the most unnatural motion that you could ever do for your arm in the history of biomechanics ever, do you think that maybe the 30-second rest is probably a good thing for their health? Do you think that maybe repeated efforts with only 10 seconds in between of throwing 95 plus is a good idea? That's not a good idea at all. From a health standpoint, it's an absolute disaster. It's an absolute disaster. It's an oversight on the league's point just to make money by exploiting players. That is awful for player safety. Awful. You're going to see an uptick in injuries, especially for pitchers, almost exclusively pitchers.
I didn't even think about that. That's crazy. Yeah, because now that you mention it, I mean, we both played baseball.
Yeah.
Even just at the level we played, I'd like some time in between throws. I was a catcher. If I'm coming up and trying to throw as hard as I can to second base over and over and over within 10 to 12 seconds every single time,
I'm not a jugs machine.
that's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Your bodies are not meant for those.
Okay, so yeah. What were you gonna say?
The body's not meant for that long, like that many sustained, repeated, maximal efforts with that little rest.
No. So, like, what does this do? So now you're going to see...
You're going to increase
the pitch count.
injuries.
The pitch count is going to be...
Probably less.
Way less. This puts a lot more emphasis and importance on your bullpen because now you're probably going to cycle through a lot more pitchers during a game.
Yeah.
So, look, and now they're not doing anything about the length of the season, though. And that's my suggestion.
Cut it to 100 games.
Here's my thing.
At most, it should be 100 games.
The pitch clock, what they're trying to do with the pitch clock is make each pitch more valuable. But the way that you make each pitch more valuable is you make the season shorter.
To make each game.
Right. Because if you shorten the season, that makes each game more valuable, which makes each inning more valuable, which makes each pitch more valuable. Or maybe it breaks down to out then pitch, but whatever.
I got you, though.
There are other measures you can take. You can still go ahead and lose 10, 15, 20 games straight. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Nah.
180 game season. If you shorten it to 100 games, you go on a 10-game losing streak. That's 10% of your season. You can't do that and make the playoffs.
Couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I think you could make an argument to cut it in half, which would be, 81 games? There's a 162-game season. You can make the argument that cutting it in half, 81 games.
Yeah.
Make it a round number, we'll go 82. I would not be opposed at all. And all the seam heads, well, what about the records this and the records that? Screw your records. Like, I don't care. Does anybody put a lot of weight on Babe Ruth's records anyway?
No.
Hey, every now and then you get a black and white photo of the babe eating a hot dog in between innings. Cool. That's great. That's great. But in reality, does anybody... Like, this used to happen a little bit, from what I've seen, this footage from, 70s, 80s, where people, actually arguing that Babe Ruth's the best power hitter. But, I mean, nobody goes to the round table and goes, no, I'm submitting my bid. Babe Ruth's the best power hitter ever. That those days are gone.
No, yeah,
it's
100%.
Hank Aaron, Griffey, McGuire, Sosa,
now you're
Bonds,
getting into Mike Trout,
dudes like that. Judge if he keeps this pace up, right? Pujols, Miggy, right? Those are the names. Nobody's no, the Bambino is better than all of them. Against firefighters, come on.
You see, firefighters, carpet installers, and all the second jobs that they used to have back then to be able to play. You see the video of his sweet workout routine too.
I don't even want to know.
There's a video out there.
3 push-ups and a couple rows or something?
Dude, it's crazy. He's doing sit-ups and his trainer's punching him in the chest when he gets to the top and he's going down. And the one, literally his trainer is on top of an exercise ball, just bouncing on his stomach and chest while he's laying on his back. And they were like, it was that 50s, the monotone 50s voice from an announcer.
This is core training as done by Babe Ruth and the Yankees trainer.
Yeah, you're you are looking at the pinnacle of athletic.
As a trainer, that physically hurts me.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at, and then you can't even compare that to the MLB today. I mean, these dudes are studs; these are athletes, and the pitch clock I think it waters down the game. It starts making about something that baseball is just simply it just isn't.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't love it, but if you want to do it for the regular season, that's fine. I think playoffs, First of all, I think you're going to see injuries. So I'm just warning you now. I don't agree with it because I think the injuries are going to be mounting. You're not going to see guys go past the 5th inning really. And I'm going to be honest, I'd rather watch DeGrom go 8 strong than watch the 4th guy from the bullpen get tatted in an 11-10 game. Like, that's just not – I know that's what, I guess, the casual fan wants. That's fine, but that's not the game itself. I don't know. I think football's done a good job of promoting offense, but it's still the same game.
Yeah, it hasn't
right?
really changed all that much.
I know it's, more offensive. You can't hit people as hard. That's fine, but it's still the same game.
Yeah.
It's starting to become a different game. But I do like the no shift. That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's cool. I like the no shift.
I've always been the guy that's more for the shift, though.
You've been more for the shift?
Like, look,
you're
an MLB hitter.
Yeah.
You learn directional hitting from the time that you're 12 years old playing baseball. If you have a problem pulling the ball, you should know how to sit back, kind of sit on it, and push it the other way every now and then and hit against it. But that's just my opinion.
I would tend to agree. I think what they're trying to do is increase like base traffic, increase the speed of the game, and I think a good way to do it is no shift. I think the bad way to do it is the pitch clock. So I don't know.
Maybe that's a discussion we have next week. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe debate little shift action.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, that is all we have for the show today, guys. So make sure you are going to theissuesports.com. You can find everything that we are doing over there. All the links for the TikTok, the Instagram, the Twitter, Facebook. We are everywhere. So go find us, follow, and then, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow on Spotify, Apple Podcast, all that good stuff.
Everywhere.
But other than that, we will see you guys next Thursday. That was The Issue.